Hi everyone, it's Katrina. There are places in this world so old it seems they couldn't have been built by humans. I'm going to show you those places today. Places like an island city built by forgotten giants, a human settlement older than human history, and something strange in Antarctica. So grab your gear because we are traveling back in time. The other giant's causeway. Did giants really walk the earth? If so, they may have loved Scotland. Scotland is home to a place that rivals the legendary Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland. Imagine a world where giants stride across the sea, their footsteps leaving behind a trail of hexagonal basalt columns. The Isle of Staffa is home to a cave called Fingal's Cave that is full of these hexagonal columns. These two sites, Fingal's Cave in Scotland and the Giant's Causeway, share an uncanny resemblance, almost as if sculpted by the same mythical hand. Could there be an ancient connection between these two places? Discovered in 1772 by botanist Joseph Banks, its grandeur rivaled any human-made cathedral. Compared to this, he exclaimed, "What are the cathedrals and palaces built by men? Mere models or playthings." Even Banks, a man of science, was captivated by the beauty of the cave. But the question lingers. Why do these two locations, separated by a vast expanse of water, share such a unique geological feature? The answer might come from ancient Celtic mythology. The ancient Celts of Scotland believed that Fingal's Cave was part of an ancient bridge built by an Irish giant named Finn McCool. One side of the bridge was in Ireland, ending at the Giant's Causeway. The other side was in Scotland, ending at Fingal's Cave. Finn McCool created the causeway to get across the Irish Sea to face his rival, the Scottish giant Benandonner. But Benandonner was much bigger than he was. Benandonner challenged Finn to a wrestling match. He was going to walk across the bridge and beat Finn and invade Ireland. To avoid this fight, the Irish giant asked his wife Una to hide him by dressing him up as a baby and putting him in a cradle. When Benandonner showed up and couldn't find Finn, he stayed around at his house, waiting for him to come back. Una kept the giant busy and made him some iron cakes. When the giant took a bite, he chipped his teeth. Una ridiculed the Scottish giant, saying her husband ate the same cakes but never broke his teeth on them. Then she gave one of the cakes, secretly, without iron in it, to Finn, where he was disguised as a baby in a cradle. When Benandonner saw the baby easily eat what he thought was a cake of iron, he was terrified to meet the child's father. If the baby was so large and strong, he wouldn't be able to beat him. Benandonner ran back to Scotland, smashing the bridge to pieces behind him so that Finn couldn't follow. While the story may seem like a fantastical tale your tour guide will tell you on the way to the site, it hints at a deeper truth. The Giant's Causeway and Fingal's Cave were once connected. It was formed by the same volcanic eruption over 50 million years ago. Did the ancient Celts, keepers of oral tradition, preserve a memory of this ancient land bridge passed down through generations? Though giants may not have carved these magnificent structures, the myth adds a layer of wonder to the scientific explanation. Recent experiments have shown that the slow cooling of basalt lava can create these perfect hexagonal formations. Volcanologists recently recreated the hexagonal columns of these two sites in a lab. Professor Jan Lavallee at the University of Liverpool heated basalt cores drilled from a volcano in Iceland to a blistering 1,000 degrees Celsius. The basalt cores softened in the lava, and they were cooled until they snapped. The test showed that when basalt magma fractures, it becomes a perfect hexagon, just like in Fingal's Cave. So maybe it wasn't built by giants, but maybe giants used it? But if the bridge formed over 50 million years ago, how did the Celts know the lands were once connected? There is always a little truth behind the myth. Perhaps in ancient times, giants really did use the causeway to cross from Scotland to Ireland. The Celts knew it because legends of the giants were passed down to them over generations. What do you think of this story that blends geology and mythology? Let me know in the comments. The Ancient Hall of Records. Did intelligence forces find some forbidden history in Romania? In 2002, a Pentagon satellite spotted something strange within the Buzludja mountains of Romania. It was weird enough that the next year, 2003, the mountain was scanned using the latest in ground-penetrating radar by the US. This was not an archaeological investigation, but a military one. To be fair, this is speculation and has not been officially confirmed. The story goes that a high-level Italian Freemason was the first to alert a secret paranormal unit of the Romanian intelligence services. He said that American ground-penetrating radar had found an anomaly inside the mountain. Rumors spread that it was a dome-shaped structure in the mountain that was so suspicious and strange, it kicked off a series of political maneuvers, including Romania being put on the fast track to join NATO, as they said, for its protection. At around the same time as all this was happening, a similar anomaly was identified in Iraq. It's believed that this strange discovery could have also been a contributing factor to the invasion. The Hall of Records consists of a semi-spherical energy barrage, a sort of dome-shaped structure at the heart of the mountain. The ground-penetrating radar picked up signs of a tunnel and a secondary energy barrage protecting the entrance to the tunnel. Now known as the Hall of Records, conspiracy theories have run wild. This place was built by either a forgotten civilization or an alien one. Inside the vault within the mountain is a storehouse of forgotten knowledge. The most important, genetic information. And not just your family history either. Ancestry has that already. It's believed this Hall of Records holds the genetic truth of giants, extraterrestrials, and human-alien hybrids. But whatever was discovered inside the mountain was enough to make the Pentagon, the Romanian government, and the Freemasons fight over it. Nobody is able to get in, but there are additional tunnels leading deeper below the mountain, far below ground. It's been estimated the Hall of Records was created 50,000 years ago, and that the tunnels are linked to other buried storehouses of information. None of this can be proven, although publisher and author Peter Moon insists that he has traveled to Romania and confirmed key aspects of the story. Peter Moon has gone back 9 times and works with Dr. David Anderson, the founder of the World Genesis Foundation. This might be a little confusing because the World Genesis Foundation is a non-profit organization focused on providing educational opportunities to children, with its stated mission being "Leave no child without hope for the future." It is not directly connected to the concept of time travel or conspiracy theories, but Dr. Anderson has published many works on space-time physics and time-control technologies. Both Dr. Anderson and Peter Moon met in Atlanticron, a summer academy of learning held annually in Romania, focused on bringing together young people and experts from various fields to explore important global issues. This is quite a fascinating rabbit hole to go down, so let me know if you would like to hear more in another video. But what are your thoughts? Is the Romanian mountain really home to the most important genetic vault in the world? Or is this nothing but a conspiracy theory? And now for a quick break because it's shout out time! I want to give a big thank you to The Shaded and family, hi guys, and also Dr. Mikey B for supporting this channel. We wouldn't be here without you. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos about amazing discoveries. We've got a lot. Cave houses. Get ready to rewrite your history books once again. In a French cave, scientists stumbled upon structures built a staggering 175,000 years ago. That is older than anything else made by human hands, period. So, who were the architects of these mysterious cave formations? None other than our long misunderstood cousins, the Neanderthals. These skilled builders were hard at work constructing these things a full 100,000 years before our own species, Homo sapiens, even arrived in Europe. While Neanderthals weren't quite designing beachfront high-rises, they were clearly innovative. This wasn't your typical cave dwelling. Scientists found evidence of walls built with a level of intentionality that shocked the archaeological community. Walls to Neanderthals were a revolutionary concept, but instead of bricks and mortar, they used stalagmites, those impressive rock formations inside caves. The Neanderthals had moved hundreds of stalagmites by ripping them from the cave floor like trees, leaving behind telltale holes in the ground. These were then stacked into what can only be described as a prehistoric building experiment. The most impressive structure? 2 ringed walls, 4 layers high, supported by vertically wedged stalagmites. The largest wall, towering almost to your waist, spans over 20 feet across. Marie Soresi from Leiden University called this completely different than anything archaeologists have seen before. These stalagmite structures may very well represent some of the oldest building projects ever discovered. For years, we have painted Neanderthals as primitive cave dwellers, but this discovery paints a very different picture. They weren't just surviving, they were creating. While their architectural style might not win any design awards today, they were busy. This isn't an isolated incident either. We are constantly uncovering evidence of the Neanderthals' ingenuity, sophisticated clothing, well-constructed shelters, mastery of fire, and incredibly advanced toolmaking. They even had a factory that I mentioned in another recent video. But Neanderthals had already inhabited this region for nearly 200,000 years. So the question is, was this a sudden burst of creativity? Where did this architectural inspiration come from? Göbekli Tepe is not the oldest temple. Step aside! The oldest archaeological site in the world has been dethroned. Southeastern Turkey is home to the world-famous site of Göbekli Tepe, which in recent years has been celebrated as patient zero of human history. It is 12,000 years old and believed to be the oldest temple in human history, where humans first got together to observe the stars and kickstart civilization. But it's not the oldest anymore. Göbekli Tepe made it on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 2018, which is pretty recently. In the past 6 years, people have come to understand its significance to our history and origins. But no one knows who built it. The more we study it, Göbekli Tepe is changing our understanding of prehistoric society. In 2012, scientists found something else nearby. It was already clear that this part of Turkey, the Şanlıurfa region, is home to some very, very old sites. It's hard to find information when archaeological sites are so old. I mean, we're talking 12,000 years. To put that into perspective, Roman civilization lasted around 1,000 years. The US as a country has only been around 248 years. Surface surveys revealed other potential settlements and temples in the same age range as Göbekli Tepe, but archaeologists can't drop what they're doing to dig every spot where there might be potential. These things take time. It wasn't until 2021 that scientists began to excavate a place called Çakmak Tepe. Recent findings have elevated the site to a place of top priority. It could hold the most important secrets to human civilization. Many of the settlements date to the earliest part of the Neolithic period, about 10,000 BC, but Çakmak Tepe predates them all. The excavation team has estimated that Çakmak Tepe is 1,000 years older than its cousin, a few hills over, Göbekli Tepe. And it's even more impressive. It's incredible what researchers have been finding out about the past and just how far back these places go. While Göbekli Tepe seems to have been a religious site, Çakmak Tepe appears to have been some sort of town. There are residential structures and public buildings, or there were 13,000 years ago during the Stone Age. Now it's nothing but a buried pile of rocks, so you have to have a really good imagination. The mystery deepens the further underground you go. Archaeologists have identified some large structures similar to those at Göbekli Tepe, but the ruins are a little different. Göbekli Tepe was likely just abandoned and then covered by thousands of years of geological activity. But Çakmak Tepe was taken apart. The giant pillars and stone buildings were dismantled and then intentionally buried. What kind of civilization disassembles their own city and then buries it? For whatever reason, maybe somebody wanted to erase this site from the world or bury it to protect it for the future, which clearly works since we are exploring it now. Aliens in Antarctica. There is a secret world underneath Antarctica. That's nothing new since there are so many things hiding under the ice, from animals to volcanoes, but that's not what I'm going to tell you about today. In 2014, British scientists stumbled upon something incredible. A network of tunnels snaking under the ice, some as tall as the Eiffel Tower. The question is, are they natural formations or something more sinister? The researchers flew over Antarctica in a plane equipped with cutting-edge radar. They weren't looking for monsters, but they certainly found something unexpected: a series of massive ridges and cavities on the ice surface, connected to a labyrinth of tunnels buried deep below. Now, you might be thinking, can't I just zoom in on Google Earth? Not quite. While Google Earth offers amazing views, it can't match the detail and precision of radar scans from a low-flying aircraft. These scans revealed a subterranean world, with some tunnels soaring to a staggering 820 feet, or about 65 giraffes stacked on top of each other. Naturally, the scientific community had a field day trying to explain these colossal structures. The most likely explanation? Melting water. As ice melts, water flows beneath the ice sheet, carving out these impressive tunnels on its journey towards the ocean. But hold on, where's the fun in that? Let's entertain some wilder theories. Could these tunnels be ancient pathways carved out by an ancient civilization? What about an alien base? That would be a great location. After all, Antarctica has long been a hotbed of alien conspiracy theories. Some even believe it was once home to a pre-flood civilization, their remnants now frozen in time. What do you think? The Seraphim of Eldara. Get out of the way, Anunnaki. There is a new reptilian guardian of the galaxy. Turns out a race of reptilian creatures known as the Seraphim of Eldara may have governed planet Earth. Various myths from around the world can be applied to the Seraphim of Eldara. Ancient civilizations believe the Seraphim of Eldara could command cosmic energy and use it as a life force. They knew a lot about science and did things that would have looked like magic to early humans. The Seraphim could combine cosmic energy with the Earth's magnetic fields and use it to power cities, transport materials, and even change the weather. The Seraphim were tall, had gleaming eyes, and mostly human bodies, but they were reptilians. The theory is that it's possible that using something like the geomagnetic energy of the planet, the Seraphim of Eldara were able to do things like levitate giant stone blocks. This would have helped them build megalithic structures, and they may have used sound waves to destroy enemy cities instead of nuclear weapons. There's a lot about the forces of nature that modern humans still don't understand. But what proof is there that the Seraphim ever existed? The answer could be ley lines. Ley lines are imaginary straight lines that connect many historical and sacred sites around the world. It's a controversial topic, but the idea is that ancient monuments like Stonehenge and Machu Picchu, the Nazca Lines, and the Great Pyramid of Giza are all connected. Ancient people knew about these lines and built things along these ley lines, maybe because of spiritual significance and energy flow. The Seraphim of Eldara could supposedly tap into these energy fields. Maybe the Seraphim didn't build places like the pyramids and Stonehenge, but the builders of those places knew about the magnetic lines. They once acted as a natural energy grid across the planet. Pyramids and tombs built on the lines could presumably double as functioning batteries. It was Alfred Watkins in 1925 who made ley lines famous by writing about them in his book, The Old Straight Track. Alfred was the first modern researcher to realize the ancient monuments in England were aligned along straight lines. Alfred proved his point by drawing perfect lines between standing stones, churches, and burial mounds across the country. For example, the Rudston Monolith, Castlereagh Stone Circle, Mitchell's Fold, the Longstones, and Glastonbury Tor. In 1961, former military pilot Tony Wedd added to the theory of ley lines thanks to his unique view of them from above. Seeing ancient monuments from the sky lined up like dominoes made him think about runways. Then Tony started wondering if ley lines were used by alien spacecraft as landing strips. Ancient monuments may have shown aliens exactly where to bring their ships down. If rumors are to be believed, the whole ley line system started with a race of ancient reptilians. There isn't any physical evidence of the so-called Seraphim of Eldara. It's not even clear where the name came from. The Seraphim have become a part of popular culture and conspiracy theories. It might be thanks to sci-fi writers and their ideas of reptiles running the world. Giants built this place too. The closer you look, the more you start to see evidence of giants everywhere. In the Pacific Ocean, there is a ruin that surprises researchers at every turn. It's been called the eighth wonder of the world, but it could be older than any of the other wonders. The indigenous islanders call this place the Reef of Heaven, and not even they know who built it. Most people know the site as madol, located in Micronesia. The city was built on a lagoon, constructed of coral and stone on 92 artificial islands. The engineering that went into madol's construction is enough to make your brain hurt. The ancient architects had to build each of the 92 artificial islets from scratch. They acted as platforms, partially floating foundations for the true city to be built on. Then, to get around, the architects designed a canal network to seamlessly bring you from one part of the city to another. Madol is like Venice, multiplied by 100. Madol served as the political capital of the Socotra dynasty from about 1100 to about 1628. The entire dynasty had a population of only 25,000 people. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough, considering they lived on a bunch of islands in the ocean that were constantly under threat of flooding. Radiocarbon dating hasn't proved very effective in madol, so it's hard to tell when it was really built. Some suspect madol was not built by the Socotra dynasty at all. The coral city may have already been in ruins on the island when the Micronesians arrived more than 1,000 years ago. Evidence of this can be found in their local legends. There is a well-known myth to explain the construction of madol. It's said that a pair of sorcerer twins built the city to honor their god. In some versions of the myth, the sorcerers used levitation to move the massive stones into place. Another version claims there was a flying dragon involved. Another myth says the sorcerer brothers had help from giants. The giants built the city using enormous basalt blocks, some of which weigh up to 50 tons. How would ordinary people move these if they didn't have help from giants? There is no evidence to suggest that the Socotra had access to mechanical technology. There has never been any sort of pulley system or mechanical device found on the island. Archaeologists have located several quarry sites where the blocks were excavated, but they are still working out how ancient people moved them. No one knows how this amazing city was built, and the only clues come from myths of sorcerers and giants. The rock split in two. This rock in Saudi Arabia was split in half by a laser beam. A laser beam either fired from an alien ship, a forgotten piece of human technology, or something else, allegedly. It's called the al-nasla rock formation, and it's a massive boulder that is split perfectly in two. It looks like it was split down the middle with a perfect laser cut. It's 20 feet high, balancing on a pair of rocks. The two halves of the rock look like they are levitating and should fall over at any second, but they never do. According to geologists, the perplexing rock formation is totally natural. The rock is also covered in ancient petroglyphs. Nobody knows who left them, but they are at least a couple thousand years old. They show images of horses, humans, and what look like goats, maybe? There are no alien images carved into the stone to support the laser theory. One of the most popular ideas for how the rock split has to do with an earthquake. It's possible that the rock sits on a fault line, and that one day there was a small earthquake that shifted the ground directly below the rock. The shift caused it to split perfectly in two. There's also the possibility that perhaps during the Ice Age the rock froze completely solid. Water between cracks in the sandstone froze and expanded and broke the rock in two. When the rock thawed centuries later, it was split. Which theory do you like the most? Earthquake, alien laser beam, or freeze-thaw? Let me know. Something ancient buried here. Archaeologists in Seville, Spain were shocked when they found ancient tombs hiding even older structures underneath, hinting at a past we never knew existed. They were investigating a Neolithic dolmen, a type of portal tomb built from massive stones. They stumbled upon something extraordinary, evidence of even older buried structures beneath. Scientists sometimes call them portal tombs because of the way they were built. There's only one entrance, looking like a portal to the underworld. Dolmens were impressive feats of prehistoric engineering that can be found worldwide, from Europe to Asia, and date back around 6,000 years. In some parts of the world, like Indonesia, they are still being built today, serving as family tombs. The Cañada Real dolmen in Seville is roughly 6,000 years old. It's a testament to the first farmers who settled in the region, a time when burying your ancestors in a stone tomb was the height of funerary fashion. But here's the kicker. A recent survey using ground-penetrating radar showed that hidden beneath the dolmen are two more. How is this possible? Where did these older structures come from? Are they also Neolithic? Or could they be even older, built by a civilization that predates modern humans? This discovery begs the question, how deep does our history go? Oldest structure in the world. Archaeologists have uncovered some notched logs that might just be the oldest structure in the world. And I mean by a lot. I'm talking 476,000 years old. That's the age of a wooden structure found buried near a waterfall in Zambia, in Africa. It's the oldest structure that has ever been discovered by a huge margin. But who built it? The structure predates the first appearance of Homo sapiens in Africa. It predates our ancient ancestors, the Neanderthals. Larry Barham from the University of Liverpool told Scientific American that it's a disruptive discovery. That's certainly one way of putting it. The discovery of the wooden structure is disruptive because it completely destroys everything we thought we knew about humanity. Let's take a closer look at the remains of the structure. If I'm being honest, there isn't much to work with. Archaeologists dug up a pair of interlocking logs connected by a carved notch. That's it. That's the whole discovery. It was found next to Zambia's Colombo River. And even with only two pieces, though, archaeologists can tell a lot. For example, the fact the logs were connected with a carved notch shows that whoever built the structure had the capacity to plan ahead. They built the pieces to form, like jigsaw pieces. What researchers really want to know is what the entire structure looked like. Was it a whole cabin? A wall? Here's the issue with wooden artifacts. They are almost never discovered because wood naturally decays so much quicker than stone. Even after just 100 years, an entire log cabin can be reduced to nothing but dirt. The only reason these pieces survived was because they were protected by the waterfall and incredibly perfect conditions. In the past, most human groups were likely using wood, it's just that we don't see it today because the wood doesn't survive. But now strap yourself in because I have something that's going to push this discovery to the extreme. There is a piece of polished wood even older than the Zambian wooden logs. In Israel, a plank of wood was found from 780,000 years ago. It is the oldest proof of an unknown species shaping wood. Lost human species were more advanced than anyone could have imagined. But how smart were they? Prior to this new discovery in Zambia, the oldest wooden structure ever found was only 9,000 years old. The human timeline has just been pushed back by 500,000 years.
Thanks for watching! Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed.
Abraham Lake, Canada. Located along the North Saskatchewan River in Alberta, Canada, Abraham Lake was created in 1972 as part of the TransAlta Corporation's construction of the Big Horn Dam. At 20 miles long and occupying a surface area of 20.7 square miles, it's Alberta's largest man-made lake, and it is famous for its unique turquoise color, thanks to an influx of sediments from glacial erosion. During winter, Abraham Lake freezes over, trapping methane bubbles that create crystal-like formations below the surface. Methane is released into the lake when organic matter, like dead plants and animals, sinks to the bottom of the lake, causing the gas to form and rise to the top of the water. When the lake thaws in the spring, the bubbles release methane into the atmosphere. However beautiful these methane bubbles are dangerous, according to environmental scientists, not least because the greenhouse gas is 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Researchers fear that this contributes to climate change, especially since they expect the lake to continue releasing releasing methane indefinitely. Man-made lakes tend to emanate more methane than natural water bodies because they are created by filling dry land, which is often full of organic matter, with water. Experts are also concerned because methane is highly flammable, a quality that all too often does more harm than good to the environment. Buzludja Monument, Bulgaria. Located in central Bulgaria, the derelict Buzludja Monument, also called the Monument House of the Bulgarian Communist Party, was built in the 1970s. It is located high on a ridge on a battle site in honor of fallen Bulgarian heroes. Over 6,000 people contributed to building the structure, with many students camping out helping to build the dream. Now it has become the subject of debate as Bulgaria tries to decide what to do with the monuments of its socialist past. Since joining the EU, it doesn't want to remind everyone of its socialist rule. Like many other state-built communist structures, the Buzludja Monument boasts a futuristic architectural style. It looks like a flying saucer was left behind. The interior contains over 10,000 square feet of space dedicated to the Bulgarian Communist Party and covered in mosaics, including the characteristic hammer and sickle communist symbols. When democracy spread across Eastern Europe and Bulgaria more specifically during the 1990s, the Buzludja Monument fell largely out of favor. It was abandoned and has not been maintained, resulting in at least 20% of its mosaics, as well as its copper ceiling, disappearing, while other parts of the structure fell into disrepair. There have been numerous campaigns to save the monument, but the building remains unmanaged and in a decaying state. Urban explorers have managed to get in and take pictures. Supposedly there is a hole in the cement floor that leads to the basement, and from there you can take the stairs to the main hallway. However, of course, it is at your own risk. Valle de Cocora, Colombia. This is one of the few places I'm going to tell you about that I've actually been to. The Cocora Valley in Colombia's Los Nevados National Park is home to fields of the world's tallest palm tree species, the palma de cera, or the Quindío wax palm, which is highly endangered. Also the country's national tree, wax palms grow nearly 200 feet tall. Within the Cocora Valley's mountainous forest is the Bosque de las Palmas, or the Forest of the Palms, a collection of towering Quindío wax palms set against even taller mountains, with cattle freely grazing all around. Reaching this area requires a several-hour hike along one of 4 trails, which can be challenging, especially if it has been raining. The weather here is known for being extremely unpredictable, and if it's sunny in the morning, be sure to take a raincoat. The nearest town is called Salento, a charming, picturesque village reminiscent of Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude. You can take a Willy Jeep ride to the Cocora Valley from there, or of course you can go by horse or bicycle, although you'd better be in good shape. The valley is home to all kinds of wildlife, including hummingbirds, parrots, mountain tapir, spectacled bear, sloths, puma, and whatever these little guys are. We went up the mountain on horseback and it was one of the most magical places in the world. I highly recommend. And now for number 8, but first want to give a big thank you to Jeff Eigenberger and Cheryl Simmons for supporting this channel. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe and let us know your dream place to visit in the comments below. Red Beach, China. Situated in the Liaho River Delta in the world's largest wetland and reed marsh, the Panjin Red Beach in Dawa County, China is a protected area that's home to over 400 wild animals, including endangered species, and it serves as a migratory stopover for at least 260 different types of birds. Composed primarily of shallow seas and tidelands, the reed-covered landscape is best known for its vibrant red hue, which it gets from a plant called sueda, also sometimes called seepweed. Sueda is unique because it's one of few plants that can survive in the region's highly acidic, alkaline, saline soil. It begins growing in April and May, remains green throughout the summer, and takes on its famous crimson shade during the fall. Fun fact, known for its high quality, the short grain rice that grows here was recognized as the official rice of the 2008 Beijing Winter Olympics. I didn't know that the Olympics had an official rice. What does that mean exactly? Most of the Red Beach, which gained state-level protection in 1988, is closed to the public. A small portion of it is accessible to visitors, however, offering non-invasive views of the beautiful scenery. It's important for people to keep a safe distance from the ecosystem, as the fragile wildlife at the Red Beach is threatened by nearby industry, including seafood farms and rice paddies, which compete for space and other natural resources, as well as an oil field, which has obvious potential to cause cause environmental damage by default of what it is. Devil's Bridge, Germany. While its name is admittedly unsettling, the Rakottsbrück Devil's Bridge in Kromlau, Germany is paradoxically serene. Set against a backdrop of lush foliage in Kromlauer Park, the arched structure was deliberately built so that its reflection in the water below connects with the bridge to form a circular illusion. Like similar structures throughout Europe, it's nicknamed the Devil's Bridge due to the belief that it was so bizarrely spectacular that Satan must have built it. But the construction was built by human hands and with local stone after the local town's knight commissioned it in 1860. The bridge is more aesthetic than practical, hence its tendency to draw spectators who stop by on day trips from Berlin during their travels to Germany from other parts of the world. But visitors are not allowed to cross the bridge for the sake of preserving it, and ongoing renovations have drained the lake it sits over and littered the site with construction equipment until further notice. The ongoing project is expected to continue for several years, which is disappointing, but the good news is that the site will eventually be restored to its former glory. Sentinels of the Arctic, Finland. Every winter, the trees in the Finnish Lapland region freeze over with ice and snow, taking on mystifying shapes and earning them a reputation as the guardians of the North. Otherworldly images of the phenomenon were taken by Italian photographer Niccolo Bonfadini, who traveled to the region and endured sub-freezing temperatures of -40 degrees Fahrenheit to capture his snapshots. Bonfadini titled his series Sentinels of the Arctic, and one of the captivating images was even featured on NASA's Astronomy Picture of the Day website. The snow and ice-covered trees themselves are not the landscape's only breathtaking features. Set against a backdrop of soft colors amid the sunset, including various shades of blue, rose, and violet, and a distinct pink band across the sky, the Sentinels nearly accentuate a stunning natural phenomenon known as the Belt of Venus. Mono Lake, California. Occupying a 70-square-mile area at the edge of North America's Great Basin, Mono Lake is an ancient saline lake with an abnormally high salt content measuring roughly twice as much as the ocean. Consequently, there are no fish in the lake, and its water-dwelling organisms are limited largely to brine shrimp and alkali flies. The surrounding landscape is dominated by cottonwood and willow trees, and strange limestone formations called tufa towers dot the lakeshore's shallow waters. Before the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, DWP, began diverting water from the streams that feed Mono Lake in 1941, the lake was far less saline and was more capable of supporting life. Between then and 1990, Lake Mono lost half its volume, dropping around 45 feet. People noticed that Mono Lake was undergoing a damaging transformation long before DWP stopped draining water from it. In 1978, the Mono Lake Committee formed with the goal of saving the lake. The group's efforts paid off when in 1994, the California State Water Resources Control Board ordered DWP to let Lake Mono's water levels rise to 6,392 feet above sea level. As of August 1st of this year, the lake's water had risen to 6,382 feet. Almost there. The sinkholes, Venezuela. In Venezuela's Sarisarinama National Park, near the Brazilian border, sits a tabletop mountain, or tepui, called Cerro Sarisarinama. The heavily wooded tepui is located hundreds of miles from the nearest road, in one of the country's most remote regions. There are 4 gigantic sinkholes on Cerro Sarisarinama, the largest among them being Cima Humboldt, which measures up to 1,155 feet wide and 1,030 feet deep, and Cima Martel, which is around 814 feet deep. The two are located just 3,000 feet from one another, where they are completely surrounded by thick, imposing foliage. These large holes were believed by the native people to be haunted. An evil spirit that lived off of human flesh inhabited the mountain, and as he ate, he would make the noise Sari. The dense jungle, the mist, and the desolation only adds to the eeriness and mystery of the place. A pilot named Harry Gibson discovered the sinkholes in 1961, but the first organized expedition into Cima Humboldt did not happen until 1974. The crew learned the hard way that the sinkhole expands towards the bottom, and they became stranded for several days before being rescued. During their time spent trapped at the bottom of Cima Humboldt, the researchers found themselves in a new world full of never-before-seen endemic species found nowhere else on Earth, who have evolved at the bottom of the sinkhole since its creation, completely isolated from the rest of the world. Unfortunately, the sinkholes of Cerro Sarisarinama remain largely understudied because they are extremely difficult to access. Rainbow River, Colombia. Caño Cristales is a 62.1-mile-long Colombian river located in the country's Serranía de la Macarena National Park. Nicknamed the River of Five Colors and the Liquid Rainbow, it boasts vivid colors along the riverbed including red, yellow, green, blue, and black. From June to November, the moderate months between the extreme dry and wet seasons. I haven't been there myself, unfortunately. Maybe next time. The dazzling array of colors results from the reproductive process of aquatic river weeds called Macarenia clavigera. This particular phenomenon, which occurs in a region rife with biodiversity and chock full of endemic species, is observed nowhere else in the world. Colombia's tourism board is taking measures to protect the river as tourists flock to take in its natural beauty. In an effort to preserve the area, the board imposed a daily limit of 200 visitors, with each group numbering no more than 7, and people are not allowed to enter the river's designated swimming areas wearing sunscreen or bug spray. The effort to balance the tourism economy with conservation stands in stark contrast to the situation prior to 2016, when the area was controlled by FARC guerrillas and therefore off-limits to pretty much everyone. Kohe Beach, South Island, New Zealand. A series of spherical gray boulders resembling dinosaur eggs, known as the Moeraki boulders, dot the coastline along Kohe Beach on New Zealand's South Island. The large rocks are known as septarian concretions, which are hard, compact masses of matter that form when mineral cement fills spaces between particles in soil or sedimentary rock. Septarian concretions contain septaria, which are angular calcite-filled cavities or cracks at the center of the boulder. The boulders are exposed by way of waves eroding the looser surrounding material. Around 2/3 of the 60-million-year-old rocks measure between 4.9 and 7.2 feet in diameter, and the smaller remaining third have diameters of 1.6 to 3.3 feet. Maori legend offers a different explanation for the Moeraki boulder's origins. According to the story, the rocks represent the remains of sweet potatoes, eel baskets, and calabashes that washed ashore when the Arai Te Uru, a large sailing canoe carrying their ancestors to the South Island, sank. In addition to the Moeraki boulders, Kohe Beach hosts numerous unique wildlife species, including yellow-eyed penguins, a seal colony, and Hector's dolphins. Socotra, Yemen. Located in the Indian Ocean between Somalia and Yemen, Socotra is an archipelago so isolated that 1/3 of its wildlife is found nowhere else on Earth, including plant and animal species that died out long ago elsewhere. The territory, which is governed by Yemen, sits 60 miles north of the Horn of Africa at the entrance to the Gulf of Aden. Nicknamed the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean, Socotra is home to 307 endemic plant species, comprising 37% of the total plant population. Many of these plants are noticeably strange, or at least unique, including the dragon's blood tree, as well as Adenium socotranum, a pink-flowered tree with a trunk resembling an elephant's leg. There are 11 endemic bird species, including the Socotra starling, the Socotra sunbird, and the Socotra grosbeak, and the only endemic mammals are bats. Over 90% of the mollusks and reptiles on the island are endemic, according to National Geographic. Archaeologists have found evidence of human occupation on Socotra dating back to the 2nd century, and some even believe that the bizarrely beautiful island is where the Garden of Eden existed. Socotra is currently affected by war, and its future remains uncertain as it is currently occupied by separatists who recently deposed the Yemeni government. Between the civil war and the ongoing global COVID-19 pandemic, now unfortunately isn't exactly the most ideal time to visit the island paradise. Thanks for watching! Have you ever been to any of these places? Or which one would you like to visit? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you soon. Bye!